Drop her or we drop you. Lieutenant Samuel Wright didn't move. Couldn't move. His arms were locked around the unconscious alien princess, like she was the last piece of salvation in this burning hell. Green blood, her blood stained his torn uniform, mingling with his own red somewhere along the way. The pain in his ribs screamed with each breath, but his grip never faltered. I said drop her, human. The Azurian guard's weapon hummed with deadly energy pointed directly at Sam's head. 3 more guards flanked him, their tall, blue-skinned bodies tensed for attack, crystal eyes cold as the space between stars. Sam steadied his breathing the way he'd been trained decades ago in SEAL training. Can't do that, buddy, he wheezed, tasting copper in his mouth. Made a promise. The battlefield around them looked like the universe had vomited fire and death. The Texas Space Diplomatic Center, once the pride of human-alien relations, now lay in twisted metal and smoking craters. Bodies from both sides lay scattered like broken toys. The peace summit was supposed to end 3 years of tension. Instead, it had exploded into this nightmare when a bomb detonated during the opening ceremony. Sam counted the guards, 4 of them weapons that could vaporize him before he could blink. 68 years old with a dislocated shoulder and broken ribs against 4 alien warriors in their prime. Not great odds, but Samuel Wright hadn't survived 3 wars by focusing on the odds. Final warning, human. The guard's finger tightened on the trigger. Stand down. The voice cut through the tension like a blade through silk. Every guard immediately lowered their weapon and dropped to one knee. She appeared through the smoke like a goddess from some ancient story, taller than her guards, skin the color of deep jade, wearing armor that somehow looked both deadly and beautiful. Her hair wasn't just green, it shimmered with silver threads that caught the dying light. But it was her eyes that hit Sam hardest. Violet orbs that seemed to contain galaxies, eyes that had seen 1,000 battles and won them all. Queen Thalia, the eternal sovereign of the Azurian Empire, studied Sam with those impossible eyes. Her gaze dropped to the princess in his arms. For just a second, barely a heartbeat, something cracked in that icy expression. My daughter, she whispered. She's alive, Sam said quickly, his voice rough. Pulse is weak but steady. She needs medical attention. He shifted the princess's weight, ignoring the lightning bolt of pain from his shoulder. I tried to protect her when the ceiling came down. Talia's eyes traveled over his torn security uniform, the Earth Alliance insignia barely visible under all the blood and dirt. You saved her. Couldn't just leave her, Your Majesty. You could have. Talia stepped closer until she stood directly in front of him. This close, Sam could smell something like cinnamon in starlight. You should have. We are your enemy. Sam's gaze hardened. She's not my enemy. He adjusted his grip on the princess despite the pain shooting through his shoulder. She's just a girl who needed help. Something flickered in the queen's eyes, surprise, respect, Sam couldn't tell. He was too busy trying not to pass out. The world tilted, dangerously black spots dancing at the edges of his vision. You're injured. Thalia observed, her voice softer than before. I'll live. Sam managed, but his legs chose that moment to buckle. The queen moved faster than thought, her hand gripping his good shoulder, steadying him. Her touch sent electricity through his battered body. Will you, she asked softly. Up close, her face was even more striking, sharp cheekbones, full lips, skin that seemed to glow from within. Will you live, human soldier who saves enemy princesses? Sam managed a weak grin. That's the plan, Your Majesty. Thalia studied him for another heartbeat, then made a decision. Bring him to the medical ship. Both of them. The guards looked at each other confused. My queen protocol states. I am well aware of protocol, Thalia cut in her voice like steel wrapped in silk, and I am overriding it now. As the guards moved to obey, Sam's vision began to darken. The last thing he saw before consciousness slipped away was Queen Thalia's face, those violet eyes watching him with something that might have been curiosity. Sam jerked awake, instinct putting him on immediate alert. White walls, strange humming, unfamiliar ceiling, not home. His hand automatically reached for a weapon that wasn't there. Easy, human, you're safe. He turned his head toward the voice. Queen Thalia sat beside his bed, watching him with those unreadable violet eyes. She'd removed her battle armor, now wearing flowing robes of midnight blue that made her green skin seem to glow. Her long silver-streaked hair was braided over one shoulder. Princess Alara, Sam asked immediately, his voice rough. A flicker of surprise crossed Thalia's face. Not asking about yourself first, interesting. She gestured to his right. My daughter is there, still unconscious but stable. Sam turned to see the princess lying on a bed nearby, surrounded by medical equipment he didn't recognize. Her jade skin was paler than her mother's, her silver-streaked hair spread across the pillow like a halo. She looked young, equivalent to maybe 20 in human years, Sam guessed. Where am I? He asked, taking stock of his own condition. The pain in his ribs had dulled to a manageable ache. His shoulder felt stiff but functional. You're aboard the Stellar Serenity, my personal vessel, Thalia replied. Our medical technology has repaired your most serious injuries, though the human body responds, unpredictably, to our methods. Sam sat up slowly, testing his limits. Better than expected. Why am I here and not in a cell? Last I checked, our species weren't exactly on friendly terms. Talia's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in those violet eyes. You saved my daughter's life. That complicates matters. Before Sam could respond, a soft moan came from the princess's bed. In an instant, Thalia was at her daughter's, one hand gently touching her forehead. Sam found himself moving too, though more slowly, coming to stand on the opposite side of the bed. Princess Alara's eyes fluttered open, the same veleth as her mother's, but softer, somehow less guarded. She blinked in confusion, gaze darting around until it landed on Thalia. Mother. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm here, Starlight, Thalia said, her voice gentler than Sam had heard before. You're safe now. Alara's eyes shifted, finding Sam. For a moment she looked confused. Then recognition dawned. You, she said, her voice gaining strength. The human. You pulled me from the rubble. Lieutenant Samuel Wright, Your Highness, Sam said with a slight bow of his head. Just doing what needed doing. Lieutenant, Thalia raised an eyebrow. Your uniform indicated security personnel. Sam's mouth quirked in a half-smile. Retired military, Navy SEAL specialized in combat medicine. The security job is just to keep me busy. SEALs, Alara said, surprising them both. Her voice was still weak, but her eyes brightened. Elite warriors trained for the most dangerous missions. Experts in unconventional warfare, demolitions, and battlefield medicine. She noticed their surprised expressions and added, I've studied Earth military history. Sam couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. Sounds like you've done your homework, Your Highness. The Fallujah offensive. Alara continued, watching Sam carefully. You were there. The smile vanished from Sam's face. How could you possibly know that? Your name, she said simply. Lieutenant Samuel Wright, recipient of the Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism during the Battle of Fallujah. You saved 13 Marines under heavy fire despite being wounded yourself. She paused, studying his reaction. But that's not the whole story, is it? Sam felt the old weight settle on his chest, heavier than any physical injury. No, he admitted quietly. It's not. Thalia looked between them, clearly confused by the exchange. Alara, how do you... A sharp pain lanced through Alara's body, cutting off her mother's question. The princess gasped, her back arching slightly. Immediately, Sam's training kicked in. He checked the alien medical readouts, unfamiliar, but with enough similarities to human equipment that he could make educated guesses. Her neural readings are spiking, he said, pointing to a pulsing light on the display. Similar to what we'd call a pain response. Thalia called for the medical officer, but Sam was already moving, adjusting something on the equipment beside the bed. The pulsing light steadied, and Alara's body relaxed. What did you do? Thalia demanded, though there was more curiosity than accusation in her voice. Pain management, Sam explained, his movements sure, despite the unfamiliar technology. The neural blocker was set too low for her current readings. I just adjusted the flow. Thalia stared at him. How could you possibly know how to operate Azurian medical equipment? Sam shrugged his good shoulder. Pattern recognition. 30 years of battlefield medicine teaches you to adapt quickly. He glanced at Alara, who was breathing more easily now. Plus, seems like the princess knows me. Figured I should return the favor by knowing how to help her. The medical officer arrived, a stern-faced Azurian female who immediately began checking Alara's vitals. She shot suspicious glances at Sam but didn't undo his adjustments. The princess needs rest, she announced finally. Both of you should leave. No, Alara said weakly, reaching out to grasp Sam's wrist with surprising strength. He stays. The medical officer looked outraged. Princess protocol dictates. I made him promise not to leave. Alara interrupted, her violet eyes fixed on Sam. Before I passed out in the rubble, he promised. Sam nodded slowly. I did. Talia and the medical officer exchanged looks. Finally, Thalia sighed. Very well. Lieutenant Wright may remain, but at a proper distance. She turned to Sam, her expression unreadable. It seems you've made quite an impression on my daughter. Hours passed in the quiet of the medical bay. Alara had fallen back into a healing sleep, her breathing steady. Sam sat in a chair beside her bed, keeping his promise. Across from him, Queen Thalia had remained as well, dividing her attention between her daughter and various reports streaming in on a holographic display. Sam studied the queen when she wasn't looking. Despite her regal bearing and the power she clearly wielded, there was something lonely about her. He recognized it because he'd seen it in his own mirror every day since losing Sarah to cancer 5 years ago. You have questions, Thalia said suddenly, not looking up from her reports. Ask them. Sam considered for a moment. Why was Princess Alara at the Peace Summit? Seems like a dangerous place for your only daughter. Thalia's fingers paused over the holographic controls. How do you know she's my only daughter? The way you look at her, Sam said simply. I've seen that look before. It's how parents look at their only child, like they're holding their whole universe. Talia's expression softened slightly. You are observant, Lieutenant Wright. Yes, Alara is my only child. My son, she hesitated. My son was killed 2 years ago in the conflict with the Dresery. I'm sorry, Sam said quietly. Losing a child, there's no greater pain. Talia studied him. You speak as though from experience. Not a child, Sam clarified, but my wife, cancer, 5 years ago. He didn't mention how sometimes that felt like losing part of himself, how the absence never really healed, just became something you carried. And yet you continue, Thalia observed. Sam's mouth quirked in a half smile. Not much choice is there. Universe keeps spinning whether we want it to or not. For the briefest moment, something like understanding passed between them, two people who had lost parts of themselves but kept going anyway. Then Thalia's royal mask slipped back into place. To answer your question, Alara was at the summit because she insisted. She believes peace is possible between our peoples. She can be persuasive when she wants something. Sam chuckled. Strong-willed then. Like her mother, Talia admitted, the ghost of a smile touching her lips, though she has her father's idealism. And what about you, your majesty? Do you believe peace is possible? Thalia's violet eyes hardened. I believe in protecting my people. The rest is negotiable. Before Sam could respond, a soft voice broke in. He believes in peace. They both turned to see Alara awake, watching them with those intelligent violet eyes. She looked stronger than before, some color returning to her jade skin. The lieutenant, she continued, her gaze fixed on Sam. He believes in peace. That's why he saved me instead of running. Sam shifted uncomfortably under her scrutiny. With all due respect, Your Highness, I saved you because you needed saving. Politics didn't enter into it. Exactly, Alara said with a smile that transformed her face. That's what makes you different. Talia watched this exchange with narrowed eyes. Alara, you speak as though you know this human. How is that possible? Alara hesitated, glancing at Sam. I've studied Earth's military history, as I said. Lieutenant Wright's actions during the Fallujah offensive are well documented. That doesn't explain how you recognized him on sight, Thalia pressed. Alara sighed. I may have accessed some classified files during my studies. Alara, Thalia looked scandalized. I was curious, Alara defended. Humans fascinate me. The way they live such short lives but burn so brightly. Their capacity for both destruction and compassion. Her gaze returned to Sam. Lieutenant Wright exemplifies this duality. A warrior who became a healer. Someone who fought not for glory but to protect others. Sam felt increasingly uncomfortable with the direction of this conversation. I'm not a hero, Your Highness. Just a soldier who did his job. Yet you couldn't save them all, Alara said softly. Could you? The room seemed to grow colder. Sam's jaw tightened. No, I couldn't. Talia sensed the sudden tension. Alara, enough. The lieutenant deserves his privacy. But Alara wasn't finished. That's why you've never used your medical training since leaving the military, isn't it? Because of what happened to your team member, Captain Jenkins. Sam stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I think I need some air, he said roughly, heading for the door, despite having nowhere to go on an alien spacecraft. Lieutenant, wait, Alara called, distress in her voice. I didn't mean to. Sam paused at the doorway, not turning around. Some wounds don't heal, Your Highness, even after 20 years. Then he was gone, leaving mother and daughter in silence. The observation deck of the Stellar Serenity offered a panoramic view of Earth, a blue marble suspended in the vast blackness of space. Sam stood at the window, hands clasped behind his back, lost in memories he usually kept locked away. He'd found the deck by following signs in both Azurian and English. Apparently, the ship had been retrofitted for diplomatic missions. Our engineers believe that seeing one's homeworld from orbit provides psychological comfort to most species, a voice said from behind him. Sam didn't need to turn to know it was Queen Thalia. They're not wrong, he admitted, though it also reminds you how small everything is from up here, how fragile. Talia moved to stand beside him, her tall form reflected in the reinforced glass. She'd changed into simpler robes, though still clearly royal in design. I apologize for my daughter's invasiveness, she said after a moment. Alara has always been intensely curious about humans. Sometimes she forgets that knowledge doesn't give her the right to probe old wounds. Sam shook his head. Not your fault, not really hers either. He sighed, watching the slow rotation of Earth below. She just hit a nerve I thought had gone numb years ago. They stood in silence for a while, watching the blue planet turn. Captain Jenkins, Thalia said finally. Who was he? Sam hesitated, then decided there was no harm in telling her. She, Rebecca Jenkins, best combat surgeon I ever worked with. We were pinned down in Fallujah trying to evacuate wounded Marines from a collapsed building. Similar to your daughter's situation, actually. He paused, the memories sharp as glass. Insurgent sniper hit her while she was working on a kid with a chest wound. I couldn't get to her in time. Couldn't save her. But you saved the others, Thalia observed. 13 out of 15. They gave me a medal for it. His voice turned bitter. Doesn't bring back the 2 I lost. Talia turned to study his profile. In my 1,000 years of life, Lieutenant, I've learned that guilt is the heaviest burden any warrior carries. Sam raised an eyebrow. 1,000 years. Azurians have considerably longer lifespans than humans, she explained. I am relatively young for a queen, actually. Despite the serious mood, Sam couldn't help a small chuckle. Makes my 68 years seem like a blink. Yet in that blink, you've experienced much, Thalia said thoughtfully. The intensity of human lives has always fascinated our scholars. You live so briefly, but with such passion. Sam turned to face her fully. Is that why you came to Earth, fascination? Thalia's expression darkened. No, we came because we had no choice. She moved closer to the window, her reflection overlaying the stars. 3 years ago, the Drazari forced us from our outer colonies. We need allies, resources, new worlds where our people can settle. And Earth fit the bill, Sam concluded. Earth has something we need, Thalia admitted. Your adaptability. Humans adjust to new circumstances faster than any species we've encountered. It's why your kind spread across your solar system in less than a century, while other species took millennia. Sam processed this information. So the Peace Summit wasn't just diplomacy, it was survival. For both our species, Thalia said quietly. The Drazari won't stop with Azurian worlds. They're a consuming force, Lieutenant. They don't negotiate or coexist. And now the summit's in ruins, with both sides blaming each other, Sam said grimly. Pretty convenient for the Drazari, wouldn't you say? Thalia's violet eyes sharpened. What are you suggesting? I've been in enough war zones to recognize a false flag operation when I see one. Sam said, memories of his covert operations surfacing. The bombing felt wrong, too calculated, too perfectly timed. Our intelligence suggests human extremists. Thalia countered, though, without much conviction. Sam shook his head. And I bet Earth intelligence is pointing fingers at Azurian hardliners. Meanwhile, the Drazari sit back and watch us tear each other apart. Thalia was quiet for a long moment, considering his words. If what you suggest is true, we need proof. Without it, the war hawks on both sides will push us into conflict. I might have something, Sam said slowly. Before the explosion, I noticed someone moving where they shouldn't have been. Non-security personnel in a restricted area. I didn't get a good look, but something was off about their movement. Not human, but not quite Azurian either. Did you report this? Sam grimaced. Didn't get the chance. Boom came about 30 seconds later, and then I was busy digging your daughter out of the rubble. Talia stepped closer, her eyes intense. Lieutenant Wright, if you could identify this individual. A sudden alarm cut through the ship, red lights flashing along the corridor outside. Thalia's communication device chimed urgently. She answered in rapid Azurian, her expression growing increasingly concerned. What's happening? Sam asked when she finished. Ilara is awake and insisting on speaking with both of us immediately, Thalia replied, already moving toward the door. She says she saw something before the explosion, something crucial. Princess Ilara sat upright in her medical bed, looking considerably stronger. When Sam and Talia entered, her violet eyes locked onto them with laser focus. I remember who planted the bomb, she said without preamble. It wasn't human and it wasn't Azurian. Talia moved quickly to her daughter's side. Are you certain? Ilara nodded firmly. I noticed them because they were trying too hard to move like an Azurian. The posture was correct, but the gait was wrong, like they were wearing our skin, but hadn't quite mastered how it moves. She turned to Sam. Lieutenant, you saw them too, didn't you, near the Eastern Security checkpoint? Sam's eyes widened in recognition. Yes, that's exactly where I spotted them. Something about their movement seemed off. Drazari, Ilara said grimly. They can mimic other species, but never perfectly. It's why they prefer infiltration to open warfare. They're shapeshifters, but flawed ones. That's a serious accusation, Ilara, Talia said carefully. The Drazari haven't been detected this far into human space. They're here, Mother, Ilara insisted. I'm certain of it, and they want humans and Azurians fighting each other. Sam's military mind was already working through the implications. If they've infiltrated both sides, they could be pushing us toward war from within. Talia's expression hardened. We need proof before making such claims to either government. The diplomatic situation is already fragile. I can identify them, Ilara said confidently. Their movements are distinctive once you know what to look for. And I've got contacts in Earth Alliance security who might help us access surveillance footage, Sam added. If we can catch the bomber on camera, maybe analyze their movement patterns. Thalia considered this for a long moment, her regal features giving nothing away. Finally, she straightened, decision made. Lieutenant Wright, I'm placing you under my personal protection. You will assist us in this investigation. Sam raised an eyebrow. Not sure I have much choice being on your ship and all. You misunderstand, Thalia said with the faintest hint of a smile. I'm not detaining you. I'm recruiting you. Before Sam could respond, the medical bay doors slid open. A tall, severe-looking Azurian male entered, wearing elaborate robes with military insignia. His green skin was darker than Thalia's almost emerald, and his eyes were a cold crystal blue rather than violet. My queen, he said, bowing deeply. We've received transmissions from the Earth Alliance. They're demanding the return of all human personnel, including this security officer. His gaze flicked dismissively over Sam. Counselor Zenith, Thalia greeted him coolly. Lieutenant Wright is under my protection. He saved Princess Ilara's life. Zenith's blue eyes narrowed. With all respect, Your Majesty, one good deed does not erase the fact that he is human. The diplomatic protocols are clear. He should be returned to his people immediately. The protocols also allow for royal exception in cases of life debt. Ilara interjected, her voice stronger than before. Lieutenant Wright pulled me from the rubble when your guards were nowhere to be found, Counselor. Where were you when the bombs exploded? A flicker of something, anger, fear, crossed Zenith's face before his expression smoothed into diplomatic neutrality. I was securing the evacuation routes, Princess, as per emergency protocols. Convenient, Ilara murmured. Enough, Ilara, Talia said, though Sam noticed she was studying Zenith with newfound intensity. Counselor, please inform the Earth Alliance that Lieutenant Wright remains aboard the Stellar Serenity as our honored guest. His status is non-negotiable at present. Zenith's jaw tightened visibly. The High Council will not approve, Your Majesty. They'll see it as provocative during this crisis. The High Council serves the Crown Counselor, not the other way around. Thalia reminded him, steel beneath her velvet tone. You have your instructions. After Zenith departed, clearly displeased, Sam turned to Thalia. Not popular with the counselor, am I? Zenith has always been conservative regarding human relations, Thalia explained diplomatically. But his reaction seemed excessive even for him. He moved wrong, Ilara said suddenly, her violet eyes wide with realization. Just now, when he was angry, his hand gesture wasn't Azurian. The fingers splayed in a pattern I've never seen before. Sam and Talia both stared at her. Are you suggesting, Thalia began, we need to watch him closely, Ilara said urgently, very closely. The command center of the Stellar Serenity hummed with activity as Azurian officers monitored communications and ship functions. Sam felt distinctly out of place in his patched-up Earth Alliance uniform among the tall, elegant aliens. Queen Thalia had insisted he join their strategy session despite the obvious discomfort it caused her senior staff. The footage from the diplomatic center is heavily corrupted, reported Commander Lyria, the ship's security chief. Unlike most Azurians Sam had met, she seemed to regard him with professional curiosity rather than suspicion. But we've isolated several frames showing individuals in the vicinity of the explosion. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life, showing grainy images of the moments before the bombing. Sam leaned forward, eyes narrowed in concentration. There, he said suddenly, pointing to a figure moving along the eastern corridor. That's who I saw. The movement is off. Ilara, who had insisted on joining them despite medical advice, nodded in agreement. The posture is Azurian, but watch how they place their feet, heel to toe like a human. Azurian step with the whole foot at once. Can we enhance the facial features? Thalia asked. Lyria manipulated the controls but shook her head. Too corrupted. But we can analyze the gait pattern. She ran a series of calculations, the computer overlaying a skeleton model on the figure's movement. This is unusual. The skeletal structure appears to be shifting slightly between frames. Drazari shapeshifting isn't perfect, Ilara explained. They can mimic external appearances, but the underlying structure remains partially fluid. Sam studied the footage carefully. Where did this person go after this segment? Lyria checked the timestamps. They disappear from surveillance approximately 2 minutes before the explosion. Next appearance is... She paused, frowning. That's strange. According to this, they reappear in the council chamber, evacuation footage, but wearing different clothing. They've changed from Azurian diplomatic attire to Earth Alliance security uniform. They switched identities during the chaos, Sam realized. Smart move. Let me see that security uniform. The image magnified, showing a standard Earth Alliance security uniform with proper insignia. Sam's eyes narrowed as he noticed something. The rank pins are wrong. They're upside down. No real security officer would make that mistake. We need to identify who this individual is now, Thalia said firmly. If they've infiltrated either of our security forces... Your Majesty, interrupted a communications officer. Urgent transmission from Earth Alliance Command. Admiral Hawkins is demanding to speak with you. Thalia straightened. Put him through. The holographic display shifted to show a stern-faced human male in his 60s wearing the decorated uniform of an Earth Alliance admiral. His eyes widened slightly when he saw Sam standing among the Azurian officers. Lieutenant Wright, he said, surprise evident in his voice. I see the reports of your captivity were somewhat exaggerated. Not captive, sir, Sam replied. Here by choice, helping with the investigation into the bombing. Admiral Hawkins frowned. That bombing was an Azurian act of aggression, Lieutenant. Or have your new friends convinced you otherwise? With respect, Admiral, Sam countered. The evidence suggests a third party was involved, specifically the Drazari. Hawkins scoffed openly. The Drazari, they're nowhere near Earth space. This is clearly an attempt by Queen Thalia to divert blame from her own extremists. Thalia stepped forward, her regal bearing unmistakable, even through the holographic projection. Admiral Hawkins, we have preliminary evidence suggesting Drazari shapeshifters were present at the diplomatic center. They may have infiltrated both our security forces. Convenient theory, Hawkins said dismissively. But Earth Alliance intelligence has already identified several Azurian hardliners who oppose the peace process. The bombing carries their signature. Sam felt a chill run down his spine. Something about the Admiral's certainty felt wrong. He'd known Hawkins for years. The man was usually methodical, careful about jumping to conclusions without solid evidence. Admiral, Sam said carefully, how quickly did intelligence identify these Azurian suspects? Hawkins's eyes narrowed. What are you implying, Lieutenant? Just that intelligence analysis usually takes days, not hours, especially for something this complex. A flash of something anger-fear crossed Hawkins' face, then vanished so quickly, Sam almost thought he'd imagined it. Our methods have improved, Lieutenant. I'm ordering you to return to Earth Alliance jurisdiction immediately. I respectfully decline, sir, Sam replied steadily. I believe I'm more useful here at present. The Admiral's face hardened. That's insubordination, right? I could have you court-martialed. I'm retired military and a civilian contractor. Admiral, besides, I'm following the highest directive of any serviceman pursuing the truth to protect both our peoples. Hawkins's jaw tightened visibly. Queen Thalia, I formally request the return of all Earth Alliance personnel, including Lieutenant Wright. Failure to comply will be considered an act of aggression. Thalia remained impassive. I invoke Article 7 of the Preliminary Accords, Admiral. Lieutenant Wright has saved a member of the royal family, creating a life debt that supersedes standard diplomatic protocols. He remains under my protection until that debt is satisfied. The Admiral's face flushed with anger. This isn't over, he warned before terminating the transmission. The command center fell silent. Finally, Commander Lyria spoke. His reaction seemed excessive. Yes, Sam agreed it, a cold certainty forming in his gut. It did. Alara's violet eyes met his, filled with the same realization. Admiral Hawkins is one of them, isn't he? I've known Richard Hawkins for 15 years, Sam said slowly. He's a cautious man, methodical to a fault. He would never jump to conclusions this quickly, and he knows the chain of command too well to be confused about my status. He shook his head. That wasn't Hawkins, or at least not entirely Hawkins. Talia's expression darkened. If the Drazari have infiltrated the highest levels of Earth Alliance command, and possibly your High Council as well, Sam added, thinking of Counselor Zenith's strange reaction earlier. We're being pushed toward war from both sides. But why? Commander Lyria asked. What do the Drazari gain from conflict between our species? A weakened defense, Alara suggested. If we're fighting each other, we can't unite against them. Sam nodded grimly. Divide and conquer. Oldest strategy in the book. We need proof, Thalia decided, her voice firm. Irrefutable evidence that both our governments will have to acknowledge. I have an idea, Sam said slowly, years of special operations experience surfacing. But it's risky, and you're not going to like it. Talia's violet eyes met his, a hint of challenge in them. Try me, Lieutenant. We need to catch one of them in the act of shape-shifting, Sam explained. And to do that, we need bait they can't resist. What kind of bait? Alara asked. Sam smiled grimly. Pirekeum, a human lieutenant with knowledge of both Azurian royalty and Earth Alliance security protocols supposedly held against his will by the alien queen. I'm the perfect target. Absolutely not, Thalia said immediately. The risk is too great. With respect, Your Majesty, Sam countered, we're already at risk of interstellar war. One man's safety doesn't outweigh that. He's right, Mother, Alara added softly, and he wouldn't be alone. We could protect him. Thalia looked between them, clearly conflicted. Finally, she sighed. Explain your plan, Lieutenant, but I make no promises. The formal hearing chamber of the Stellar Serenity was arranged like a courtroom with the High Council seated in a semicircle on an elevated platform. Sam stood in the center, surrounded by Azurian guards, playing the part of prisoner. Queen Thalia occupied the royal seat at the center of the council, her expression appropriately stern. Princess Alara sat to her right while Counselor Zenith took his place to her left. The plan was simple but dangerous. Publicly announce a formal hearing to determine Sam's status, drawing attention to his unique position, while secretly watching for unnatural reactions among those present. Commander Lyria and her team monitored subtle biometric readings from hidden sensors, looking for the telltale fluctuations of a Drazari shapeshifter. Lieutenant Samuel Wright. Thalia began her Boris regal and cold perfect for their charade. You stand before this council accused of trespassing in restricted areas of the diplomatic center and handling a member of the royal family without authorization. Sam kept his expression neutral. I was doing my job, Your Majesty. Security personnel are authorized to access all areas during emergencies, and the princess needed immediate medical assistance. Counselor Zenith leaned forward, his blue eyes gleaming. A convenient excuse. Our intelligence suggests you may have had prior knowledge of the bombing, perhaps even involvement. This wasn't part of the script they'd prepared. Sam's eyes flicked briefly to Talia, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Play along. That's ridiculous, Sam retorted, letting genuine anger color his voice. I risked my life to save Princess Alara. Why would I do that if I planned the bombing? To gain access to the royal family, Zenith suggested smoothly. To ingratiate yourself as a supposed hero. Humans have used such tactics before. From the corner of his eye, Sam noticed Commander Lyria's subtle hand signal from the side of the chamber. The sensors had detected something. Zenith was showing unusual biometric readings. I have no agenda beyond doing what's right, Sam insisted, keeping Zenith engaged. Unlike some who seem determined to prevent peace between our species. Zenith's eyes narrowed dangerously. You dare accuse me of... Counselor, Thalia interrupted. The lieutenant has made no specific accusations. Your defensiveness is noted, however. Another signal from Lyria. Zenith's readings were spiking now. Sam needed to push him further. I find it interesting, Sam said carefully, that you're so quick to blame humans for the bombing when you were conveniently absent from the main chamber when it happened. Where exactly were you, Counselor? Rage flashed across Zenith's face, raw and undiplomatic, breaking his careful facade. You insolent creature, you know nothing of Counselor Zenith. Thalia cut in sharply. Control yourself. But Zenith was beyond diplomatic restraint now. He stood abruptly, pointing an accusing finger at Sam. This human has corrupted our princess's mind. He's turned you against your own kind, my queen. Can't you see what's happening? The other council members shifted uncomfortably, shocked by this outburst. Lyria's signals were becoming more urgent. Zenith's readings were off the charts now. What I see, Thalia said icily, is a respected counselor losing control in a formal hearing. That is most unlike you, Zenith. Unlike me, Zenith laughed, a harsh sound that echoed strangely in the chamber. You have no idea what I'm truly like, Your Majesty. Sam noticed something disturbing. Zenith's fingers seemed to be elongating slightly as his anger increased, the skin tone shifting subtly. The shapeshifter was losing control of his form. Guards, Thalia commanded, also noticing the change. Restrain Counselor Zenith. No, Zenith shouted, his voice distorting. As the guards approached, he moved with impossible speed, throwing one across the room with inhuman strength. His face began to ripple, features shifting grotesquely between Azurian and something else, something with more angles, eyes sliding toward the temples. Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Sam dove for cover as Zenith, or whatever he truly was, grabbed a weapon from a fallen guard. The creature fired wildly, the energy beam scorching the wall inches from Thalia's head. Sam didn't think. He reacted. Decades of combat training took over as he rolled across the floor, coming up with a guard's fallen weapon. In one fluid motion, he aimed and fired at the ceiling above Zenith, bringing down a cascade of debris that temporarily stunned the creature. Containment field, Thalia ordered, and Commander Lyria activated a shimmering energy barrier that encircled the shapeshifter. Trapped Zenith's body convulsed, the Azurian form melting away to reveal something truly alien. A being with gray-silver skin, elongated limbs, and eyes set at an angle that gave it a perpetually suspicious expression. A Drazari exposed at last. It's over, Sam said, keeping his weapon trained on the creature. We know what you are. The Drazari hissed, its voice now completely different from Zenith's cultured tones. This changes nothing human. You've caught one, but we are many. Our people are already positioned throughout both your governments. War is inevitable. Where is the real Counselor Zenith? Thalia demanded. The creature's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. Decomposing somewhere on your homeworld, I imagine. I've been him for almost a year now. A murmur of horror rippled through the council members. A year of infiltration at the highest levels of government, the implications were staggering. Why? Ilar asked, stepping forward despite the danger. Why push us toward war? What do you gain? Survival, the Drazari replied simply. Your two species together would be unstoppable. Separated fighting each other, you'll weaken yourselves to the point where our full invasion will meet minimal resistance. Its alien eyes fixed on Thalia. We learned from our mistake with the Azurians. We went too quickly, too openly. This time we'll let you destroy each other first. Sam exchanged looks with Thalia. They had their proof, now irrefutable evidence of Drazari infiltration. But the creature was right about one thing: catching a single infiltrator wouldn't be enough to stop what had been set in motion. Record everything, Thalia ordered Commander Lyria. We need to send this evidence to both governments immediately. The Drazari laughed again. It won't matter. Who do you think will receive your evidence? More of us. Your admirals, your counselors, your generals. How many are still themselves? How many are now us? A chill ran down Sam's spine at the creature's confidence. The infiltration was clearly more extensive than they'd feared. We'll find them all, Sam promised, though he knew it wouldn't be easy. Every last one of you. The Drazari's alien eyes fixed on him with disturbing intensity. You're a fascinating species, human. So short-lived, yet so determined. Perhaps we should have studied you more before attempting this. Its gaze shifted to Thalia. And you, Queen, still believing you can protect your people from the inevitable. Take it to the secure holding cell, Thalia ordered, her voice steady despite the shock of the revelation. Triple the guards and continuous monitoring. As the guards carefully moved the containment field with the Drazari inside, Sam approached Thalia and Alara. The remaining council members were in disarray, some demanding immediate action, others calling for verification of their own identities. We need to move quickly, Sam said quietly. If Admiral Hawkins is also compromised, the Earth Alliance could already be preparing for war, Thalia finished grimly, based on falsified evidence provided by Drazari infiltrators. Alara looked between them, her young face set with determination despite the chaos around them. Then we need to go to Earth. Bypass the chain of command. Take our evidence directly to people we can trust. Sam nodded slowly. My son James is at the Naval Aviation Training Center in San Diego. He has direct access to the Joint Chiefs through his commanding officer, Admiral Chen. If anyone in the command structure is still clean, it would be Chen. She's famously reclusive, barely leaves her secure compound. A difficult target for replacement, Thalia agreed, strategic calculation evident in her violet eyes. But reaching Earth undetected will not be easy. After this, the Drazari will be watching for any unusual movement. Then we don't move unusually, Sam suggested. We move exactly as they'd expect, but with a twist. Thalia raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to continue. They expect you to return me to Earth as a prisoner or diplomatic gesture, Sam explained. So that's what we do officially. Queen Thalia, escorted by a minimal security detail, personally delivering the troublesome human to demonstrate Azurian commitment to peace. While secretly carrying evidence of the Drazari infiltration, Alara added, catching on quickly. Exactly. Sam nodded. We give them what they expect to see, which gives us the opportunity to do what they don't expect. Thalia considered this plan, her royal features thoughtful. It places me directly in danger, she observed. Yes, Sam admitted, but it also gives us our best chance of preventing this war, and I'll be with you every step of the way. Something unspoken passed between them, trust perhaps, or something deeper. Neither was ready to acknowledge. Finally, Thalia nodded. Prepare a diplomatic shuttle, she commanded one of her officers. Minimal crew, maximum security. We depart for Earth in 3 hours. As the command center burst into activity, Sam found himself standing beside Alara, who was watching him with those perceptive violet eyes. You were never afraid, she said quietly, even when surrounded by aliens who considered you an enemy, even when facing the Drazari. Sam smiled slightly. I've learned that fear doesn't help much in a crisis. Better to channel it into action. Is that what they taught you in your SEAL training? That and how to hold your breath for a really long time? Sam replied with a hint of humor. Then more seriously, your mother is taking an enormous risk. Alara's expression softened as she glanced at Thalia, who was issuing commands with calm authority despite the crisis unfolding around them. She sees something in you, Lieutenant, something worth the risk. Before Sam could respond to this cryptic statement, Commander Lyria approached with urgent news. Your Majesty, she reported, we've received word from our operatives on Earth. The Alliance Military Council has convened an emergency session. They're voting on a military response to the bombing within 12 hours. Thalia's eyes met Sam's across the command center. We're running out of time. The diplomatic shuttle cut through Earth's atmosphere like a silver blade. Inside, Sam Wright stood beside Queen Thalia at the viewing port, watching his homeworld grow larger by the second. They were both silent, contemplating the impossible task ahead, exposing a vast alien infiltration to governments that might already be compromised. "Strange to think I've lived my entire life on that planet," Sam said finally, "while you've spent 1,000 years among the stars." Talia's violet eyes remained fixed on the approaching blue marble. "And yet we find ourselves facing the same enemy, Lieutenant. Perhaps we're not so different after all." The shuttle shuddered slightly as it encountered turbulence. Commander Lyria approached from the cockpit, her expression grim. "We're being hailed by Earth Defense Command. They're demanding we reroute to their military installation in Nevada rather than the diplomatic landing zone in San Diego. Admiral Hawkins' jurisdiction." Sam noted suspicion immediate in his voice. "Convenient. Too convenient," Thalia agreed. She turned to Lyria. "Inform them we're experiencing navigation difficulties and must proceed to our original landing coordinates. Diplomatic protocol gives us that right." Sam raised an eyebrow. "Navigation difficulties." A faint smile touched Thalia's lips. "A queen can bend the truth when necessary, Lieutenant." The shuttle continued its descent, banking toward the California coastline. Earth's defense systems would be tracking them, but shooting down a diplomatic vessel containing the Azurian Queen would be an act of war. Even Hawkins wouldn't risk that Drazari infiltrator, or not. "Your Majesty," Lyria said, returning from the communications array, "Earth defense is threatening to scramble fighters to intercept us." "Let them come," Thalia replied calmly. "They won't fire, not when the diplomatic fallout would be so catastrophic." Sam watched her with newfound respect. For all her regal bearing and cool exterior, Thalia was taking an enormous gamble, risking her own safety for the chance to prevent war between their species. "We'll have minutes at best once we land," Sam warned. "They'll surround the shuttle, demand we surrender. Then we must make those minutes count." Talia's gaze shifted to where the evidence was secured, a data crystal containing footage of the Drazari's transformation and confession, along with biological readings that proved it wasn't Azurian. The shuttle broke through the cloud cover, San Diego's sprawling military complex coming into view below. Sam could already see vehicles converging on the landing pad, security forces no doubt ready to welcome them. "My son should be stationed at the Aviation Training Center," Sam said, pointing to a cluster of buildings to the east. "If we can get this evidence to him." "No," and Thalia's voice was firm. "I've seen how the Drazari operate. They target family connections first. Your son may be under surveillance, possibly even in danger already." The words hit Sam like a physical blow. He hadn't considered that James might be at risk, but of course he would be a perfect pressure point against his father. "Then we need a new plan," Sam said, mind racing. "Admiral Chen is still our best bet, but reaching her compound won't be easy." The shuttle's landing gear extended as they made final approach. Through the viewport, Sam could see the reception committee, at least 20 armed soldiers, several armored vehicles, and one familiar figure standing at the center. "Hawkins," Sam muttered, "or whatever's wearing his face." "Remember," Thalia said quietly as the shuttle touched down, "we only need to create enough doubt to delay the military response. If we can buy even a few hours, our agents can distribute the evidence through multiple channels." Sam nodded, checking his concealed weapon one last time. Standard Earth Alliance sidearm familiar in his hand. "Follow my lead when we're out there. Military protocol gives us some options." The shuttle settled on the landing pad with a gentle thud. Commander Lyria approached with a small metallic disc which she handed to Thalia. "Emergency beacon, Your Majesty," she explained. "If activated, it will signal the Serenity to extract you, though doing so would violate Earth's sovereignty." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Thalia replied, securing the device in her robes. The shuttle's ramp descended, daylight flooding the interior. Sam and Thalia exchanged one final look, a soldier and a queen united by circumstance and growing trust. "Ready?" he asked. Her violet eyes met his, resolute and clear. "Ready." Admiral Richard Hawkins stood at rigid attention as they descended the ramp, flanked by armed soldiers whose fingers rested too close to their triggers for Sam's comfort. The Admiral's face was a mask of diplomatic correctness, but his eyes held something cold and calculating that had never been there before, at least not in the Hawkins that Sam had known. "Queen Thalia," Hawkins greeted her with a stiff bow. "This is an unexpected honor. We were informed you were returning Lieutenant Wright to Earth jurisdiction, not that you would be delivering him personally." Some matters require a queen's direct attention, Admiral, Thalia replied smoothly. Lieutenant Wright's actions aboard my vessel have raised concerns that I wish to address with Earth Alliance leadership directly. Sam kept his expression neutral, playing the part of the disgraced security officer. He scanned the landing area, noting positions, weapons, potential escape routes. Standard military formation, except for two figures standing slightly apart from the others, their postures just a fraction too rigid. More Drazari, he thought. They were everywhere. Of course, Hawkins said with a thin smile. However, protocol requires debriefing Lieutenant Wright immediately. I'm sure you understand. Actually, Admiral, Stum interjected, standing at formal attention. Military Cooperation Article 157 states that when a ranking officer returns from detention by a foreign power, they must first report directly to the Joint Chiefs or their designated representative. Hawkins' smile faltered slightly. You're a civilian contractor now, right? Those protocols no longer apply to you. My retired status was formally listed as reserve capacity, sir. Sam countered, grateful now for the paperwork he'd insisted on completing properly. My security clearance and military protocols remain active. A flash of anger, too quick, too raw for the real Hawkins, crossed the Admiral's face. This is hardly the time for technicalities, Lieutenant. On the contrary, Admiral, Thalia intervened smoothly. I believe precise adherence to protocol is essential during diplomatic incidents. I would hate for our mission of peace to be undermined by procedural errors. Checkmate, at least temporarily. Even a Drazari imposter would know that violating military protocol in front of witnesses could draw unwanted attention. Hawkins's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Very well. A transport will take you both to the secured communications center. You can make your report to the Joint Chiefs from there. Thank you, Admiral, Sam said crisply. And in accordance with First Contact supplemental directives, Queen Thalia is entitled to a secure communication link with her vessel during any planetside diplomatic engagement. Another rule invocation that bought them precious minutes and would allow Thalia to transfer their evidence to her ship if necessary. As they were escorted toward a waiting transport vehicle, Sam noticed a familiar face among the junior officers lining the path. Lieutenant Maria Diaz, his former protege from his last active deployment. Her eyes widened slightly in recognition, then narrowed in subtle warning. She knew something was wrong. Inside the transport sealed away from prying ears, Thalia leaned closer to Sam. Your knowledge of human protocols is proving quite valuable, Lieutenant. I've had decades to memorize the rule book, Sam replied quietly, and just as long figuring out how to work around it. We're being taken to a secure facility. Thalia observed, watching the military complex pass by outside. Is that advantageous? Could be, Sam murmured. Fewer witnesses, but also fewer Drazari potentially. They can't have replaced everyone. The transport turned down a restricted access road, approaching a heavily fortified building near the center of the complex. Sam recognized it, the Joint Communications Facility, where secure transmissions to command centers worldwide were managed. A logical place to contact the Joint Chiefs, but also easily isolated if something went wrong. As they pulled up to the security checkpoint, Sam noticed something that made his blood run cold. The guards wore standard uniforms, but their sidearms were modified, subtle differences in the housing that most wouldn't notice. But Sam had trained with every weapon in the Alliance arsenal. Those weren't standard issue. Problem, Thalia asked, noticing his change in demeanor. Modified weapons, he whispered. Non-regulation. Either our military changed their equipment in the 3 days I've been gone, or these aren't our soldiers, she finished, understanding immediately. The transport stopped. Their escort, a stone-faced captain who hadn't spoken a word during the drive, turned to them. This way, please. Sam and Thalia exchanged a glance. They'd run out of protocols to invoke out of delays they could reasonably engineer. It was time to act. As they stepped out of the transport, Sam pretended to stumble, catching himself against the captain's shoulder. In that brief contact, he pressed a small device against the man's uniform, a micro-EMP transmitter that Commander Lyria had provided. If the captain was Drazari, the electromagnetic pulse would disrupt their biomechanical shape-shifting technology for a few crucial seconds. Nothing happened. The captain merely steadied Sam with an irritated grunt. Human, then. One small mercy. Sorry about that, Sam apologized. Old war injury acts up sometimes. They were led through a series of security checkpoints, each more stringent than the last. Sam noted camera positions, guard rotations, potential weaknesses. The habits of a lifetime in special operations didn't fade with retirement. Finally, they reached a reinforced door marked Secure Communications Alpha. "Wait here," the captain instructed. "Admiral Hawkins will join you shortly to oversee the transmission to the Joint Chiefs." When the door closed behind him, Sam immediately moved to the communication console. "We have minutes at most," he muttered, fingers flying over the controls. "They're isolating us." Talia removed the data crystal from her robes, handing it to Sam. "Can you transmit the evidence?" Sam inserted the crystal, then frowned at the readout. "Channels blocked. They're restricting outgoing communications." He switched tactics, accessing the internal network instead. "But the local system is still accessible. If I can reach someone inside the base," his thoughts turned to Lieutenant Diaz. If she was still herself, she might be their only hope of getting the evidence out. He quickly composed a message with their location and a compressed version of the evidence, tagging it with an old mission code that only she would recognize. "Sent," he said, just as the door slid open behind them. Admiral Hawkins entered, flanked by two guards with the modified weapons Sam had noticed earlier. His face wore a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I apologize for the delay," Hawkins said. "Unfortunately, the Joint Chiefs are unavailable at present. However, I've been authorized to debrief you both personally." "That contradicts the protocol you just agreed to follow, Admiral," Sam pointed out, moving subtly to position himself between Thalia and the guards. Hawkins' smile widened unnaturally. "Protocol becomes flexible during times of crisis, Lieutenant. Surely you understand that." He gestured to the guards. "Secure them both. The Queen's presence here is a violation of diplomatic agreements. She's clearly come to gather intelligence." "Admiral, this is outrageous," Thalia protested with perfect royal indignation. "I came as a gesture of goodwill." "Spare me the performance." Hawkins snapped, his diplomatic veneer cracking. "We know what you Azurians planned with the bombing. The evidence is overwhelming." "Fabricated evidence," Sam countered. "Just like you've been fabricated, Admiral. Or should I say Drazari?" For a moment, shock registered on Hawkins' face. Then his expression hardened into something inhuman, angles shifting subtly beneath the skin. "You know," he said, his voice losing its familiar cadence. "Unfortunate. This complicates things." "It's over," Sam said firmly. "We have evidence of your infiltration evidence that's being distributed throughout Earth and Azurian command structures even as we speak." A bluff, but a necessary one. The Drazari wearing Hawkins' face seemed to consider this claim head-tilting at an unnatural angle. "You're lying," it decided finally. "Our monitoring would have detected such transmissions." "Would it?" Sam challenged. "Are you certain your technology can track every quantum encrypted channel the Azurians possess? Every backdoor in Earth's communications grid that old soldiers like me might remember?" Doubt flickered across the creature's face, exactly what Sam had been hoping for. Uncertainty meant delay, and delay meant hope. "Take them," the false Hawkins ordered the guards. "Level 3 containment. I need to consult with the others." The guards advanced, weapons raised. Sam tensed, ready to fight despite the poor odds. But before either side could act, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red emergency lights bathed the room. "What is this?" the Drazari demanded, genuine confusion in its voice. The overhead speakers crackled to life. "Security breach in sectors 7 through 12, announced an automated voice. "Unknown biological contaminant detected. Lockdown protocols initiated." Sam couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. Lieutenant Diaz had received his message and reacted brilliantly. Triggering the biological containment protocols would seal each sector of the base independently, preventing the Drazari from coordinating. Taking advantage of the momentary confusion, Sam moved with the speed and precision that had made him a legendary SEAL. His first strike disarmed the nearest guard, the second sent the weapon sliding across the floor to Thalia, who picked it up with surprising familiarity. "The Queen has some combat training," she explained, seeing his expression as she expertly checked the weapon's charge. "1,000 years is time enough to learn many skills." The false Hawkins snarled something in an alien language, its face rippling as rage compromised its control over the human form. It lunged at Sam with inhuman speed, fingers elongating into claw-like appendages. Sam sidestepped, using the creature's momentum against it, a technique he'd learned decades ago. The Drazari crashed into the communication console, shattering displays and sending sparks flying. "The door!" Sam shouted to Thalia, who was already moving, firing precise shots that dropped both guards. Whether stunned or dead, Sam couldn't tell and didn't have time to check. They raced into the corridor, which was chaos personnel, running in all directions, containment barriers dropping at random intervals, alarms blaring. Perfect cover for their escape. "We need to find Admiral Chen," Sam said as they ran. "If anyone's still themselves in the command structure, it's her." "How do we locate her?" Thalia asked, keeping pace effortlessly despite her formal robes. "Her private compound is on the north side of the base," Sam explained. "Heavily secured, minimal staff. She values her privacy almost pathologically, makes her a hard target for infiltration." They turned a corner and nearly collided with Lieutenant Diaz, who was leading a small team of Marines. She raised her weapon, then lowered it upon recognizing Sam. "Lieutenant Wright," she acknowledged, relief evident in her voice. "Your message came through. Biological containment was the best I could manage on short notice." "Brilliant work, Diaz," Sam commended her. "What's the situation?" "Chaotic," she replied grimly. "After I received your evidence, I started testing command staff using modified medical scanners. At least 30% of senior officers are showing the biomechanical signatures you identified." She glanced at Talia with professional respect. "Your Majesty." Talia nodded in acknowledgement. "Lieutenant Diaz, we need to reach Admiral Chen immediately. The Drazari are pushing both our species toward war." Diaz hesitated. "The Admiral's compound is locked down tighter than a vacuum seal. We can get you to the perimeter, but getting inside—" She shook her head. "That's another challenge entirely." "One problem at a time," Sam said. "How many personnel can you vouch for?" "These 5," Diaz indicated the Marines with her. "We served together in the Titan campaign. I know them, their families. They're clean." "Good enough," Sam decided. "We need transport and a diversion." One of the Marines, a sergeant with a grim expression, spoke up. "Sir, the maintenance tunnels run beneath most of the complex, including near the Admiral's compound. Designed for utility robots, but a human could navigate them." "Too small for most Drazari," Thalia observed. "Their altered physiology requires more space than a human frame." Sam nodded. "Perfect. Diaz, your team creates a diversion at the south gate. Draw attention, make it look like we're trying to reach a shuttle. Meanwhile, the Queen and I take the tunnels north." "Yes, sir," Diaz responded crisply. She handed Sam her sidearm and a communication device. "This is keyed to our squad frequency. We'll let you know when the diversion is underway." The sergeant provided quick instructions for accessing the maintenance tunnels, while another Marine produced a tablet showing the tunnel layout. Sam committed the route to memory: 3 main junctions, 2 security checkpoints designed for robotic ID, and a final ascent near the Admiral's compound. 10 minutes, Sam told Diaz. "Then light up the south side like the 4th of July." "With pleasure, sir," she replied with a determined gleam in her eye. "Good hunting." As Diaz and her team moved off to prepare their diversion, Sam led Talia toward a service corridor that would take them to the tunnel access point. They moved quickly but cautiously, avoiding the main pathways where confused personnel and possible Drazari would be concentrated. "Your people are loyal to you," Thalia observed as they descended a maintenance stairwell. "Diaz was under my command during the Titan insurrection," Sam explained. "Tough situation, lots of hard choices. You learn who you can trust when your back's against the wall." "Like now," Talia noted. Sam paused at the bottom of the stairwell, checking for movement before proceeding. "Like now," he agreed, "though I never expected to be making a last stand alongside an alien queen." "Is that what this is, a last stand?" There was genuine curiosity in Thalia's voice. Sam considered the question as he worked to open the access panel leading to the maintenance tunnels. "No," he decided. "This is something else. A first stand, maybe. The beginning of something, not the end." The panel yielded with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a narrow tunnel lit by strips of blue emergency lighting. Sam entered, first weapon ready, then motioned for Thalia to follow. "Tight quarters," he warned. "These were designed for maintenance drones, not people." "I've navigated worse," Thalia assured him, gracefully folding her tall frame into the tunnel. At Sam's questioning look, she added, "The War of 9 Moons. I led a covert extraction through mining tunnels barely wider than my shoulders." "A queen on the front lines." Sam raised an eyebrow as they crawled forward. "I wasn't always queen," Thalia replied. Before ascending, I served 5 centuries in the Stellar Guard. Leadership without experience is hollow, Lieutenant. Sam processed this information as they navigated the dimly lit passageway. 5 centuries of military service, more than 6 human lifetimes dedicated to protecting her people. The perspective shifted something in his understanding of her. They reached the first junction, a circular chamber where multiple tunnels converged. Sam checked the route on the tablet, then pointed to a passage on their right. This way should lead us past the first security checkpoint. As they continued their crawl, Sam's communication device buzzed. Right, this is Diaz. Diversion commencing in 30 seconds. Southgate full spectacle. Copy that, Sam responded, proceeding to objective. Moments later, they felt, rather than heard, distant explosions vibrations traveling through the base structure. The diversion was underway. Your Lieutenant Diaz is efficient, Thalia noted. She always did have a talent for controlled chaos. Sam agreed with a hint of pride. They reached the first security checkpoint, a narrow section where maintenance drones would normally be scanned and verified. Sam produced a small device from his pocket, attaching it to the scanner. A gift from Commander Lyria, it should generate a valid drone identification signal. The scanner hummed, lights flashing from red to yellow to green. The security gate retracted. Azurian technology, Sam asked as they passed through. Universal countermeasure, Thalia corrected. Works on most standard security systems regardless of origin. Your species isn't the only one fond of back doors. They continued through the tunnels, the sounds of alarm and chaos growing fainter as they moved away from the main complex toward the northern perimeter. According to the map, they were approaching the second security checkpoint, beyond which would be the ascent point nearest to Admiral Chen's compound. Almost there, Sam said as they reached the final junction. One more security gate, then... He froze. Ahead, illuminated by the blue emergency lights, a figure blocked their path. It was clearly not human, too tall, too angular, with limbs that seemed slightly out of proportion. A Drazari in its natural form. Interesting, the creature said, its voice a disconcerting combination of hiss and purr. I wondered who might be using these tunnels during the alert. Finding the Queen herself is unexpected. Sam raised his weapon, but the Drazari moved with lightning speed, knocking it from his hand before he could fire. In the confined space of the tunnel, they had little room to maneuver. Your diversion was clever, the creature continued, eyes glinting in the dim blue light. But we anticipated multiple escape attempts. Some of us were assigned to guard the less obvious routes. It tilted its head, studying them. The Admiral is not receiving visitors. Sam tensed, ready to fight despite the disadvantage. But to his surprise, Thalia moved first. With fluid grace that belied her regal bearing, she struck the creature with a precision blow to what appeared to be its throat. The Drazari staggered clearly, surprised by both the attack and its effectiveness. Stellar Guard combat training, Thalia explained to Sam's astonished expression. 5 centuries remember. The Drazari recovered quickly, lashing out with elongated limbs. In the confined space, the fight was brutal and intimate, no room for fancy maneuvers, just raw close-quarters combat. Sam managed to land several solid blows targeting what he guessed were vulnerable points on the alien anatomy. Thalia fought with surprising efficiency, her movements economical and deadly. But the Drazari was stronger, its exoskeleton absorbing impacts that would incapacitate a human. It slammed Sam against the tunnel wall, momentarily stunning him. As it turned to face Thalia, Sam spotted his fallen weapon just within reach. He lunged for it, ignoring the pain flaring through his injured shoulder. "Thalia down!" he shouted as his fingers closed around the grip. The Queen dropped instantly, a reaction born of centuries of battlefield experience. Sam fired 3 rapid shots over her head. The energy pulses struck the Drazari in what appeared to be its center mass. The creature convulsed its exoskeleton, cracking as the energy discharged through its system. It collapsed, twitching, its strange eyes fixed on them with alien hatred. Others, coming, it managed before going still. "We need to move," Sam urged, retrieving his weapon. "That discharge will register on security sensors." They bypassed the second checkpoint, the Drazari's body providing the biological signature needed to satisfy the scanner. Beyond lay their ascent point, a vertical shaft with maintenance rungs leading upward. "This should bring us out approximately 50 meters from the Admiral's compound perimeter," Sam explained, checking the tablet one last time before stowing it. "From there, we'll have to cross open ground." Thalia nodded, understanding the risk. After you, Lieutenant. Sam began climbing his body, protesting each movement. The adrenaline from the fight was wearing off, allowing pain from his various injuries to make itself known. 68 years old, crawling through maintenance tunnels and fighting aliens, not how he'd imagined spending his retirement. They emerged from the shaft into a small utility room filled with electrical equipment. Sam moved cautiously to the door, opening it a crack to survey their surroundings. They were in an outbuilding near the perimeter of the main complex. About 50 meters away, as promised, stood the high-security fence surrounding Admiral Chen's private compound. Between their position and the fence lay open ground, a carefully maintained strip with sensor posts spaced at regular intervals. Beyond the fence, the compound itself, a modest building with reinforced windows and multiple security measures visible even from a distance. No cover, Sam observed grimly, and those sensors will detect any movement larger than a rabbit. Can we disable them? Thalia asked. Sam shook his head. Not without triggering alarms. They're designed with redundancies specifically to prevent tampering. Their communication device buzzed again. Right, this is Diaz. Situation deteriorating. Multiple hostiles converging on our position. We can't maintain the diversion much longer. Copy that, Sam replied. Get your team to safety. We'll take it from here. Understood. Good luck, sir. Diaz out. Sam turned to Thalia, who was studying the compound with calculating eyes. We need a new approach, he said. Indeed. She reached into her robes, producing the emergency beacon Commander Lyria had given her. Perhaps it's time to change the rules of engagement. Talia's finger hovered over the emergency beacon. This will bring Azurian forces into Earth's sovereign airspace, an act that could escalate tensions further. Sam weighed their options, slim and dangerous in every direction. If the Drazari succeed in pushing our species to war, sovereignty won't matter much. We need to reach Admiral Chen. Agreed. Talia made her decision, pressing a recessed pattern on the device's surface. It emitted a soft pulse, then glowed with steady blue light. Commander Lyria will respond with precision. Not a full assault, but a targeted extraction team. How long? Sam asked, checking his weapons charge nearly depleted after the encounter in the tunnels. Minutes. Talia moved to the small window, scanning the skies. The Serenity maintained geosynchronous orbit directly above this continent. Sam joined her at the window, mind racing through scenarios. We can't wait here. The Drazari who found us in the tunnel, others will come searching. As if summoned by his words, an alarm began to sound from the direction of the main complex. Searchlights activated, sweeping across the grounds toward the utility buildings. They've discovered the body, Thalia concluded, stepping away from the window. Sam checked the door again, then froze. Several figures were moving with unnatural speed toward their position, their gait betraying their non-human nature. Drazari hunters, at least 5 of them. Back door, Thalia asked, reading his expression. Maintenance access for equipment, Sam confirmed, leading her to a narrow panel at the rear of the building. Tight fit, but it should get us outside. They squeezed through the access panel into the night air. From this angle, Admiral Chen's compound loomed closer, its security perimeter just 30 meters away. But between them and safety lay exposed ground monitored by motion sensors. We can't cross without triggering alarms, Sam muttered, assessing their dwindling options. Thalia's violet eyes gleamed in the darkness. Perhaps triggering alarms is exactly what we need. Sam raised an eyebrow. Deliberate detection? Admiral Chen values privacy and security above all, Thalia reasoned. If her perimeter alarms activate, what will she do? Understanding dawned on Sam's face. She'll check the cameras personally. She doesn't trust her security staff to handle potential threats. And when she sees who's approaching, she'll either let us in or shoot us herself, Sam finished with grim humor. But at least we'll know if she's been replaced. The decision made, they moved toward the perimeter, no longer attempting stealth. As expected, alarms blared the moment they crossed the first sensor line. Floodlights illuminated the area, bathing them in harsh white light. Hands visible, Dem instructed, raising his own. And pray the real Admiral Chen is watching. They continued forward slowly, weapons holstered, hands raised. Behind them, shouts and movement indicated the Drazari hunters had discovered their escape route. Time was running critically short. The compound's main door remained sealed, but a surveillance camera above it swiveled to track their approach. When they reached the outer fence, a speaker crackled to life. Lieutenant Wright, said a familiar, crisp voice. You're trespassing on private property during a security lockdown. Give me one reason why I shouldn't have you shot where you stand. Relief flooded through Sam, the voice, the phrasing, the characteristic bluntness. This was the real Admiral Chen, not a Drazari imitation. Infiltration at the highest levels of command, Admiral, he replied directly. Drazari shapeshifters have compromised Admiral Hawkins and at least 30% of senior staff. They're manipulating both Earth and Azurian governments toward war. A pause, then, and the alien queen beside you, an ally with proof of the infiltration, Sam answered, and we have multiple hostiles in pursuit. As if to emphasize his point, energy weapons fire erupted from the utility building, narrowly missing them. The Drazari hunters had emerged and were advancing rapidly. The fence before them retracted into the ground with a mechanical whir. Inside, now, Chen commanded. They sprinted through the opening, which sealed immediately behind them. Weapons fire from the Drazari hunters splashed harmlessly against the compound's energy shield, a security measure that wasn't on any official blueprint Sam had ever seen. The main door slid open, revealing a compact, stern-faced Asian woman in her 60s, holding a non-standard weapon that hummed with deadly potential. Admiral Helen Chen, Pacific Fleet Commander and member of the Joint Chiefs, watched them with sharp, assessing eyes. "You'd better be right about this, right?" she said as they entered. The door sealed behind them with multiple reinforcement protocols engaging. Because harboring an alien monarch during a diplomatic crisis is several kinds of court-martial offense. "Test us," Sam suggested immediately. "You must have biometric scanners that can detect Drazari physiology." Chen's eyes narrowed, but she nodded once. "This way." She led them through a Spartan living area to what appeared to be a medical room, complete with advanced scanning equipment that rivaled what Sam had seen aboard the Azurian vessel. "Hobby of mine," Chen explained, noticing Sam's surprise. "Medical technology has personal significance." She activated a scanner that bathed them both in blue light. After several seconds, it beeped and displayed results on a nearby screen. "Human," Chen confirmed, looking at Sam's readout. "An Azurian," she added, studying Thalia's. "No biomechanical anomalies consistent with Drazari physiology." She lowered her weapon slightly. "Now tell me what the hell is going on." Thalia removed the data crystal from her robes. "This contains evidence of Drazari infiltration, including footage of a high-ranking infiltrator reverting to true form under duress." Chen took the crystal, inserting it into a secure reader. As the footage played, showing Counselor Zenith's transformation and subsequent confession, her expression hardened from skepticism to cold fury. "This is genuine," she demanded when it finished. "Witnessed it personally," Sam confirmed. "The Drazari have infiltrated both our governments, manipulating us toward mutual destruction." "They've been impersonating Admiral Hawkins for at least several weeks," Thalia added, "and likely others in both command structures." Chen moved to a secure communications console, her fingers flying over the controls. "I need to alert the remaining Joint Chiefs immediately." "That's exactly what the Drazari would expect," Sam cautioned him. "Any standard communication channels will be monitored by their infiltrators." Chen's mouth quirked in what might have been a smile. "Lieutenant, do you really think the only channels I have access to are standard?" She continued working, accessing systems through biometric protocols, so complex even Sam, with his high-level security background, couldn't follow all the steps. "Direct quantum encrypted link to General Harrison's personal terminal," she explained. "Established after the Europa incident when we suspected communications compromise. Only the two of us have access." "Will he believe this?" Thalia asked. "Harrison lost his son in the first skirmish with your people," Chen replied bluntly. "He has every reason to distrust Azurians, but he distrusts convenient wars even more." She completed the transmission, sending a compressed version of their evidence. "If anyone can spot a manufactured conflict, it's him." Outside the compound, alarms continued to blare. On a security monitor, Sam could see Drazari hunters attempting to breach the perimeter shield, joined now by what appeared to be regular Earth Alliance soldiers, likely more infiltrators or unwitting humans following orders from compromised commanders. "Your shield won't hold forever," he observed. "It doesn't need to," Chen replied, checking another monitor that showed the night sky. "Because unless I'm mistaken, your reinforcements are about to arrive." The monitor displayed a small, fast-moving craft descending through Earth's atmosphere, an Azurian stealth shuttle nearly invisible to standard sensors. "Your technology for detecting our vessels has improved," Thalia noted with professional interest. "Necessity breeds innovation," Chen responded dryly. She turned to Sam. Your play, Lieutenant. We have evidence and a secure channel to one Joint Chief. What's the next move? Sam considered their options. We need to simultaneously alert both governments to the infiltration. If either side acts alone, the Drazari will use it to escalate tensions. A coordinated purge, Thalia agreed, but we must be certain who remains uncompromised. General Harrison can coordinate Earth's response, Chen said, but he'll need incontrovertible proof to convince the other Joint Chiefs who haven't been replaced. A Drazari prisoner, Sam suggested, captured and exposed in front of witnesses too numerous to silence. Chen's console chimed. Incoming message from General Harrison. She opened the communication text, only following their security protocols. Evidence reviewed. Troubling but convincing. President secured in Bunker Eagle. Joint Chiefs lockdown initiated. Require live specimen for final verification. Harrison. He's already moving, Chen said with approval. Bunker Eagle is our most secure facility. If the president is there, Harrison can prevent any rash military action while we secure proof. The building shuddered slightly as something impacted the perimeter shields. On the monitor, Sam saw the Drazari attackers had brought heavier weapons, military-grade equipment, that shouldn't have been accessible without high-level authorization. Your extraction team needs to land now, he told Thalia, or they won't be able to land at all. Thalia activated her communication device. Commander Lyria, immediate extraction required. Landing zone compromised, security failing. Acknowledge, Your Majesty, came Lyria's voice. Adjusting approach. Prepare for precision extraction. The Azurian shuttle appeared on Chen's monitors, accelerating toward their position. As it approached, it released a targeted electromagnetic pulse that disabled the attacking force's energy, weapons creating momentary confusion. Clever, Chen observed. Non-destructive countermeasure. We try to avoid unnecessary casualties, Thalia replied. Even among enemies. The shuttle hovered directly above the compound, a shimmering energy beam extending downward through the shield, compatible Azurian technology interfacing seamlessly. Transport beam, Thalia explained. It will take us directly aboard. Not just us, Sam said firmly. We need a Drazari prisoner. Remember, our best chance is to capture one during extraction. Chen nodded in agreement. And I'm coming with you. Harrison will need direct confirmation from someone he trusts implicitly. The compound shuddered again as the Drazari attackers resumed their assault, now using physical means to breach the weakening shields. They had minutes at most. The beam can transport 4, Thalia said. We'll need to move quickly to secure a prisoner. Chen moved to a weapons locker, retrieving advanced-looking equipment, definitely not standard Earth Alliance issue. She tossed a specialized restraint device to Sam. Experimental technology designed for containing non-standard physiology, she explained. Been developing it since we encountered your species, she added to Thalia without apology. Prudent, Thalia acknowledged with a hint of respect. They positioned themselves beneath the transport beam, Chen activating a remote override that would deactivate her compound's remaining security measures at the precise moment of extraction. On my mark, she instructed, I'll drop the internal shield. We grab one attacker and pull them into the beam before they realize what's happening. Sam checked the restraint device, familiarizing himself with its operation. Ready. Thalia positioned herself to assist, her centuries of combat experience evident in her stance. Ready? Chen initiated the sequence. 3, 2, 1, mark. The compound's security shield collapsed. Immediately, the nearest Drazari hunter burst through the now unprotected doorway, weapon raised. Before it could fire, Sam and Chen moved in tandem, Chen firing a targeted pulse that temporarily paralyzed the creature while Sam slapped the restraint device onto its torso. The device activated, extending a containment field around the Drazari that immobilized it without disrupting its biological functions. Together, they dragged the struggling creature into the transport beam's radius. Now, Thalia commanded into her communicator. The beam intensified, enveloping all 4 of them, 3 conscious beings, and 1 captured Drazari. Sam felt a momentary sensation of weightlessness. Then reality seemed to dissolve and reconstitute around him as they materialized aboard the Azurian shuttle. Extraction complete, Commander Lyria reported from the pilot's seat. All targets secured. Evasive maneuvers, Thalia ordered. Take us to high orbit immediately. The shuttle accelerated upward with impressive speed, easily outpacing the pursuing Earth Alliance craft that had belatedly responded to the incursion. Within moments, they had reached the upper atmosphere, the blue of Earth's sky fading to the black of space. Their Drazari prisoner thrashed within its containment field, its features shifting between humanoid and its natural form as it struggled to maintain its disguise. Fascinating, Chen murmured, studying the creature with clinical detachment. The physiological transition appears partially mechanical, partially biological. A engineered evolutionary adaptation, Thalia confirmed. The Drazari modified themselves generations ago to become more effective infiltrators. The shuttle docked with the stellar Serenity, which waited in high orbit. As they transferred to the larger vessel, Sam couldn't help but appreciate the irony. An Earth Alliance admiral and a retired SEAL lieutenant willingly aboard an alien spacecraft with the express purpose of preventing war between their species. Once aboard, they secured the Drazari prisoner in a specialized containment area. The creature had stopped struggling now, watching them with calculating alien eyes. "You've accomplished nothing," it said, finally, its voice a disconcerting blend of hiss and articulation. "Even now our agents push both your governments toward conflict." "Perhaps," Sam acknowledged, "but we have you living proof of your infiltration, and we have allies in both governments who now know to look for your kind." "You think one specimen will convince them?" The Drazari's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "How many officials will need to be tested? How many will resist claiming privacy or sovereignty? By the time you've identified us, all the missiles will already be launched." Admiral Chen stepped closer to the containment field, her expression hard. "You underestimate human resilience. When we know there's an infiltrator among us, we become remarkably good at rooting them out. And Azurians have been fighting shapeshifters for generations," Thalia added, "long before you targeted Earth." The creature's confidence faltered slightly. "The war plans are already in motion. You can't stop what's coming." "Watch us," Sam replied simply. They left the prisoner under guard, moving to the Serenity's command center. There, a strategic session was already underway, with Commander Lyria coordinating communications with loyal elements within the Azurian government. "Princess Alara has secured the High Council," Lyria reported as they entered. "Using the evidence we provided, she convinced enough counselors to initiate emergency verification protocols. 3 infiltrators have already been identified and contained." "In Earth?" Sam asked. Chen accessed a secure terminal, establishing connection with General Harrison. After appropriate identity verification, his weathered face appeared on the screen. "Helen," he greeted, Chen, relief evident in his voice. "Good to see you're still you." "Likewise, James," she replied. "Status report." "Complicated," Harrison admitted. "We've secured the president and initiated testing of joint chiefs and cabinet members. 2 positives so far, including Defense Secretary Alvarez." His eyes narrowed as he noticed Thalia standing beside Chen. "I see you've made interesting company." "Queen Thalia of the Azurian Empire," Chen introduced formally. "She risked her life to bring us warning and evidence of the Drazari infiltration." Harrison studied Thalia with guarded respect. "Your Majesty, it seems we both nearly walked into a trap laid by a common enemy." "Indeed, General," Thalia replied. "Which is why I propose an immediate joint operation between our forces to identify and contain all Drazari infiltrators." "Bold suggestion," Harrison said carefully, "but not without merit. We have a live specimen secured aboard this vessel," Chen confirmed. "I've personally verified its non-human, non-Azurian physiology. The shape-shifting capability is unlike anything in our records." Harrison nodded slowly. "The President has authorized emergency protocols. We're establishing verification checkpoints for all military and government personnel. But the public announcement will cause panic." "Better panic than war," Sam interjected. "General, the Drazari are counting on our hesitation. Every minute we delay gives their agents more time to push us toward conflict." Harrison considered this, then made his decision. "Agreed. Queen Thalia, I propose a temporary joint command structure, a task force with representatives from both our species coordinating the identification and neutralization of all Drazari infiltrators." "I accept," Thalia said without hesitation. "Commander Lyria will serve as my military liaison. Lieutenant Wright has my complete trust to represent Azurian interests alongside your forces." Sam blinked in surprise at being named her representative. Thalia met his gaze with quiet confidence, a queen entrusting a critical mission to someone she deemed worthy. Admiral Chen will coordinate Earth's response, Harrison continued, with direct authority from the President. Our first priority must be securing our nuclear launch facilities and communication networks. The discussion continued rapid-fire planning of a coordinated response across two worlds. Verification protocols, secure communication channels, containment procedures for identified infiltrators, the foundation of an unprecedented alliance formed in mere minutes. As the others focused on tactical details, Sam found himself standing beside Thalia near the viewport Earth, hanging like a blue jewel against the black velvet of space. "It's happening, isn't it?" he said quietly. "Not war, but cooperation." "The beginning of something new," Thalia agreed, echoing his words from earlier. "Born from crisis, perhaps, but no less valuable for that." "Will it last beyond the immediate threat?" Sam wondered. Thalia's violet eyes studied him thoughtfully. "That depends on people like us, Lieutenant. Those who can see beyond differences to recognize common purpose." Sam nodded, understanding the weight of what lay ahead, not just defeating the current infiltration, but building something sustainable from the alliance forged in crisis. "Samuel," he said finally, "if I'm representing you to Earth, you should probably start using my first name." A smile touched Talia's lips, transforming her regal features into something warmer, more personal. "Samuel, then. And you must call me Thalia, at least in private council." Their moment of connection was interrupted as Commander Lyria approached with urgent news. "Your Majesty, Earth's defense systems have detected multiple vessels entering the solar system, Drazari warships, at least 20. So they planned a conventional invasion once we'd weakened each other," Chen observed grimly, joining them. "Efficient strategy, but premature," Thalia noted. "They've revealed themselves before ensuring our mutual destruction." Sam studied the tactical display showing the approaching Drazari fleet. "They must have detected our cooperation, realized their infiltration plan was exposed." "Then they've forced our hand," Harrison said from the communication screen. "Earth Alliance forces are already mobilizing to defensive positions." "As are Azurian warships," Lyria confirmed. "Fighting alongside rather than against each other," Sam observed. "Exactly what the Drazari sought to prevent." Talia turned to address the combined Earth and Azurian personnel now working together in the command center. "This is the beginning of a new alliance forged in crisis but built on mutual respect and common purpose. Together we will defend both our worlds." As if to emphasize her words, an alert sounded from the communications array. Princess Alara's face appeared on screen, her expression both determined and hopeful. "Mother Earth Alliance Command has proposed joint battle strategies against the Drazari fleet. They're offering to combine our shield technologies with their offensive capabilities." "Accept the offer," Thalia instructed without hesitation. "Coordinate with Admiral Chen and General Harrison." As preparations for the coming battle intensified around them, Sam found himself standing taller, feeling more purposeful than he had in years. At 68, retired and allegedly past his prime, he now stood at the center of humanity's first true interstellar alliance. "Not how I imagined spending my retirement," he said with a wry smile. Thalia's violet eyes held both wisdom and warmth as she replied, "Perhaps this is not an ending, Samuel, but a beginning, for both our peoples and perhaps for us as well." Their gaze held for a moment longer than necessary, an unspoken connection forming between warrior queen and soldier. Then duty called them back to the task at hand, defending two worlds against those who would see them destroy each other. The starbridge between Earth and Azuria had been formed not through formal diplomacy or careful negotiation, but through crisis, courage, and the unexpected bond between two beings who had found common purpose across the Gulf of Stars. 5 years later, Samuel Wright stood on the observation deck of the Intergalactic Academy, watching shuttles arrive from a dozen worlds. At 73, he still stood straight, his bearing military, despite the years. The scars from that first confrontation with the Drazari had faded, but the memories remained vivid, as did the changes that had followed. The combined Earth-Azurian forces had repelled the Drazari invasion, transforming a potential catastrophe into the foundation of an unprecedented alliance. What began as a temporary joint task force had evolved into permanent cooperation, military, scientific, cultural. The Intergalactic Academy represented the pinnacle of that evolution, training young people from both worlds to serve as protectors and diplomats. "Professor Wright," a young voice interrupted his thoughts. "The delegation is arriving. Sam turned to see one of his students, a promising young Azurian with the characteristic jade skin and violet eyes of the royal lineage. Thank you, Alora. I'll be right there. As the student departed, another presence joined him at the viewport, taller regal, despite the more practical attire she now favored for such occasions. Queen Thalia, 5 years older, but unchanged in essentials, stood beside him. Reminiscing, she asked softly. Appreciating, Sam corrected with a smile. Seeing where we've come from, where we're going. Thalia's hand found his fingers, intertwining in a gesture that had become familiar over the years. Their relationship had evolved slowly, deliberately, a human soldier and an alien queen finding common ground that eventually blossomed into something neither had expected. The students are eager to hear your lecture on cross-species tactical coordination, she noted. Particularly the case study on how a retired Earth lieutenant and an Azurian queen outmaneuvered an alien infiltration. Sam laughed softly. I might need to omit some of the more personal details. Perhaps save those for our private recollections. Thalia agreed, her violet eyes warm with shared memories. Together they left the observation deck, walking the corridors of an institution that represented the future they had helped create, one where wisdom and experience were valued above raw strength, where bridges replaced barriers, and where even the most unlikely connections could change the course of worlds. The Star Bridge endured stronger than ever.